Hello, everyone, from Chelsea Fan TV. There is some big news. Big news. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into everything. The beard is off and the mask is off. Not just from me, from Chelsea. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy what's happening at the moment. Boehly and Eghbali. Oh my God. Speechless, absolutely speechless. But we're going to get into it. We are absolutely going to get into it, and I think it's embarrassing, to be honest with you, what's happening with this team. Is this a team? Do we trust the owners? Should we trust the owners? Do they even trust each other? Obviously not. Doesn't sound like they trust the owners. They trust each other at all. And we're going to get into it. I'm subscribed to The Athletic, so we've got an article that I'm going to bring up on screen in a second, all about some of the ins and outs to do with this situation. I've only read snippets, and I wanted to read everything together, so we can do that all at the same time, and we can break it down as well. My God, there's a lot to break down. So many things. Like, honestly, everyone pins this on Boehly. Everything in terms of the media, what's publicized, Boehly this, Boehly that, Boehly this, Boehly that. Nobody ever talked about Eghbali. I think it was after the Brentford game when we lost last season. People started talking about Eghbali and realizing, actually, this is the guy that's running Chelsea, not Boehly. This is the guy with the majority shareholder. I mean, Feliciano also is included with that equity. But if you want to break it down, Clearlake Capital owns 62% of Chelsea, and Boehly's consortium own 38%. So what we're about to break down is it's going to take a little bit of time, but if you have time, this is a very interesting, very fascinating situation at the moment. Let's see what everyone's saying in the chat. Hello, Cold King. I hope you're doing well, mate. Jacob is at school, Raphael, so it's going to be difficult for me to bring him on. Big up to you, Father. I hope you're doing well. CFC Daniels, Mikel Leonard and Minerals on the Obi-Wan podcast. Let everyone know what he said, Daniel. I've seen a couple of things. I know he spoke about Paul with Stanley recently, but I'm guessing that's not what you're referring to. So let me know what you actually mean by that. Mr. Diamond, Roman, come back. You are absolutely right, my friend. If we could have Roman back, I think we all would, but that's an unrealistic situation. Big up to Roman Abramovich. Love that guy. Met him in Porto a couple of years ago. The day after we won the Champions League as well. The day after we won the Champions League. I also met Rodri the next day as well, which is brilliant. He wasn't smiling when we took the photo. Camden says, Clown Lake out. Singer, you just want top four, my friend. I think we all want top four. Whether we actually have a chance of getting there is a different conversation. But we'll get into all of it, guys. We'll get into all of it. Did I hear him talk? No. When I met Abramovich, he did not speak. He did not speak. To give you an idea, and I'll say this story and then we'll get on to the Boehly Eghbali situation. I met Abramovich in Porto. I was with my dad and some friends, some friends that we have, and we went to quite a nice restaurant. Let's just put it like that. We went to a nice restaurant. Let's just say I wasn't paying. I would not have paid for that. But I was lucky. Everyone was in a good mood. We just won the Champions League. So it's like, fair enough. Anyway, the waiter comes over, and the best way to describe it, let's just say I've got this. It's not really a book, but whatever. Let's just say this is a book, right? And I open the book up, whatnot, okay? And the way it's showing us signatures of famous people that have been in this restaurant. We've got Ronaldinho, Pele, who else? Whatever. You get what I'm saying? And it's got the dates as well. And then he goes forward to today's date, and we're like, oh, who's signed that today? Roman Abramovich. Fuck off. No chance. There was a curtain between us, and there was another room separately, probably 10 meters away from us in the same restaurant. And he said, listen, Abramovich is literally opposite, right there, 10 meters away, covered with a curtain. He's got his whole team, bodyguards, whatnot. And he said, listen, I'm not supposed to tell you that he's there, but if you catch him when he's leaving, then you might be able to get a picture. I was the only one wearing a Chelsea shirt that day. Nobody else was wearing a Chelsea shirt. I was wearing the one with the 3 logo on. It was quite a nice shirt as well. And anyway, we saw Boehly leaving. We sprinted. Kid you not, there was about 3 people over 60 I've never seen them run so fast, but they ran. And we managed to, we saw Abramovich. I was the first one out. He was getting into a van, putting his face mask on. He had a face mask. I've sort of waved at him. I didn't shout at him. I waved at him, and he looked over, and I was like this. I was like, can I get a picture? I just sort of did that, you know. And he was halfway getting into the van, took off his face mask, walked over, didn't say a word, did not speak, walked over, stood next to me, waiting for my dad to take a photo. Then my dad went and took a photo. Then his mate went and took a photo. And this is all true. Like, if you don't believe me, as I said, I can show you guys pictures of this. That's not a problem. I mean, I've got the one that I posted today on Instagram. That's just a coincidence. But yeah, I mean, that was the first photo. And then next thing you know, one of my dad's mates comes over, wants to take a picture with Abramovich. What does he do? He sticks his arm over Abramovich. So he literally sticks his arm. You know what's going to happen as well, don't you? He sticks his arm over Abramovich. What does the bodyguard do? Abramovich doesn't speak. Abramovich doesn't say a word. Sticks his arm over Abramovich. Bodyguard goes, slaps his hand out. Don't touch Mr. Abramovich. That's not happening. And this guy just sort of awkwardly took the photo, smiled, and I mean, you're gonna do what you can to get a picture with the Don, and that's how it happened. So and then after that, Abramovich walked towards his van, and my dad, this is, as I said, this is the day after we won the Champions League. My dad goes, "Champions of Europe, we know what we are." And as Abramovich is walking off, he's not facing us, he's facing the other way. He walks off, and he just does that while he's walking. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. What an experience, what a moment. And yeah, I mean, he was a fantastic owner, Roman Abramovich. Not, you could argue, not any better in world football. Forget the word many. Nobody is as good as that man right there. So yeah, I mean, it's really upsetting seeing what's happening with Clearlake and with Boehly, the whole consortium. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Our owner was stolen from us, but we are stuck with what we have. And I am all for this. We've got to appreciate what we had. We've got to respect Roman Abramovich. He is the greatest owner in world football. When he was at Chelsea, he was the best, because we were a decent club, but we were never right up there. We won trophies, and we were a hard team to play against. But you know, we weren't competing for the title every year. And when Abramovich come in, we were there for 20 years. That's a long time to maintain that level. It's unbelievable. So it is a real shame. But we also have to understand that we are stuck with American owners, right? Whether that's Clearlake, Boehly, Feliciano, Eghbali, we are stuck with American owners. And that, whether that's good or bad, I'm going to leave for you to decide. I'm going to ask as well who you prefer to have, whether that would be Boehly or Eghbali. Where do you see that? Me personally, from what I've read so far, and I haven't read this article which I'm about to show you, I've just seen little snippets. From what I read yesterday, Boehly seems to be a massive preference. I just see a little bit more. I see a lot more in common with the guy, to be honest with you. I see a lot more in common. You look at Boehly when he goes and watches Chelsea. He's wearing Chelsea scarves. He's wearing Chelsea shirts. He's wearing Chelsea hats. First thing, he represents the club. He's proud to own the club. Whether it's about money or not, you can tell he wants to be a part of the club, right? You can't disagree with that. Eghbali never wears anything to do with Chelsea. He always rocks up in a suit and tie. I don't even see the guy fucking smile. I've never seen Eghbali smile, except for the Wolves game we won 6-2. I think that's it. I mean, that's the distinction we're seeing. But I mean, that's very broad. That's very vague. We want to get into the details. And we're absolutely going to get into the details. So let me share my screen with you guys. And we're going to read this together. This is from The Athletic. Again, if you want to read this for yourself, what you're going to have to do is subscribe to The Athletic. So if you subscribe to them, then you will be able to read this. Otherwise, you won't. So, yeah, this is the thumbnail. I mean, it tells you all you need to know. It's quite a dark thumbnail, but it's a dark time for Chelsea, and it shouldn't be, but it is. The Chelsea ownership crisis. Why Clearlake and Boehly's marriage is at a breaking point. This is Liam Twomney, Simon Johnson, and more. We'll get straight into it, guys. The biggest story at Chelsea is finally out in the open. A little more than 2 years after their £2.3 billion takeover of the club from sanctioned Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich, majority shareholder Clearlake Capital's marriage to co-owner Todd Boehly is in tatters. Rumblings of discontent have been audible behind the scenes for some time, but specific accusations of a breakdown in relations between Boehly and Clearlake co-founder Boehly and Eghbali, the most visible and active engaged member of Chelsea's ownership consortium over the past 18 months, were always denied until now. Now, we know this is true, guys. We've never heard anything about discontent. I also think if we would have known anything, then I think more fingers would have been pointed at Eghbali. And that is only starting to come out now because, well, some things I've read. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's disagreements that the two owners have had, but they didn't want to jeopardize their situation publicly, which is why, again, they've always been denying these accusations. Now, in the wake of a Bloomberg report last week that revealed Clearlake and Boehly are each exploring the ownership options, all parties have for the first time acknowledged the scale of the rift. People familiar with Boehly's thinking say he considers his relationship with Clearlake and Eghbali to be irreconcilable, and others claim the two men barely speak to one another. Now, this is completely different to when I met them. I met Boehly and Eghbali in Austria, and they were hanging out. They were talking. They were very friendly. They looked like friends, to be honest with you. And I came down and I spoke with the two of them for about 10 minutes. Boehly's a lot more chatty than Eghbali is. I mean, Eghbali has not really got much charisma, if I'm totally honest with you. But they looked very friendly, and that was obviously when things started out. And now, from what it seems, the two of them don't want to speak at all, and won't be speaking for the foreseeable future until a decision has been made on the club. So, amid the many other points of contention, there is a broad agreement that three factors in particular have contributed to the fracturing of Chelsea's owners. The first one being a fundamental cultural difference in how the Premier League club should operate, with Clearlake and Boehly each believing the other has sought to unduly influence sporting decisions. So, what can we think of in that scenario? Sporting decisions. So, the way we sign players, the contracts that we give players. As far as I'm aware, I think that both of them agree in terms of the idea of signing lots of young players and putting them on long contracts. I don't think there's any issues on that side, but it could be to do with the actual strategy in terms of not just signing young players, also signing ready-made talent. So that if you do have a young player coming in, who do they look up to, right? If you bring in Nicholas Jackson and then you've got Victor Osimhen, I think the standard's going to raise, and Jackson's probably going to get better because he's competing with a striker like Victor Osimhen, and that is, for example, Boehly's philosophy, whereas Eghbali just doesn't believe in it. If it doesn't fit the wage structure, he's not going to do it. And then you've got other things like just big names. For example, there was interest in Ronaldo at one point from Todd Boehly. And I think one of the main reasons for that is commercial value. I mean, if a player like Ronaldo comes in, this is just an example, but even if he doesn't necessarily perform, commercially, he's going to bring a lot to the club. He's going to sell a lot of shirts. He's going to be great for sponsors. A lot of eyes are going to be on Chelsea, which is going to bring brand awareness, which is another thing, is growing the Chelsea brand, which is something that Boehly believes very strongly, and he speaks a lot about it. Not many brands have the power that Chelsea has to reach so many different people around the world. So I think those are the main things. And then obviously the managerial situation. Boehly believes in letting people do their job. Just leave them to it. They're the professionals, whereas Eghbali is a little bit more hands-on. So very different styles. Whether one is right or one is wrong, let me know in the comments. I mean, we can certainly speak about it later on. But yeah, let's continue. The decision to mutually part ways with head coach Mauricio Pochettino at the end of last season, which exposed the first public fault lines between Boehly and the club's leadership structure. So I think Boehly wanted to keep Poch. Eghbali didn't. Eghbali has the majority of shares, so he has the power to make the final decision. And a lack of tangible progress in the stadium project over the last 2 years, with the club not yet resolved on a revamp or rebuild of Stamford Bridge or moving to a nearby site at Earls Court. So these are the three main factors that is creating fraction between Clearlake Capital and Todd Boehly. We can reveal that a meeting took place last month when the pair decided to explore their options. Boehly and associates have received approaches from investors in recent weeks with a view of buying out Clearlake, while Clearlake have aspirations to buy out Boehly. Fucking hell. So Boehly wants to get rid of Clearlake and buy them out, but it's vice versa. They both want the same things. They're clashing heads. This is not a good thing, guys. Not a good thing. If you had a motivated seller, then we'd be somewhere, but I don't think we do. This is certainly worrying if you're looking at the long and short-term future of Chelsea over the next 5 to 10 years. To tell the fuller story of how and why things have reached this point, what happens next, and how it could impact Chelsea, The Athletic have spoken to individuals on both sides, as well as those who have observed the breakdown of relations first half. All have been granted, yeah, that's fair enough, anonymity to enable them to speak freely. Obviously, that's fair. Nobody wants to come out publicly and potentially lose their job. This is ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, this is a madness. Oh, mate. We are a joke, and it hurts. No, so Boehly hasn't bought out Clearlake. Boehly wants to buy out Clearlake. The thing is, Clearlake want to buy out Boehly as well. They both want to buy out each other. This is a bit of an awkward situation, guys. We've got two motivated buyers, no motivated sellers. Nobody wants to sell. So what do? Well, the answer is nothing happens. Because if something doesn't happen, nothing happens. We are stuck. We are stuck with that's the situation as far as I'm concerned. We're stuck with these guys. Big up to Brian. I hope you're doing well, mate. Bring me a proper Chelsea Saudi owner up the fucking Chelsea. Yeah, man. Look, we all wanted the Saudis to come in when Abramovich was looking to sell anyway, but I mean, it's difficult, man. Even if you look at the broker of the deal, I mean, I can't remember the name. Who brokered the Chelsea deal? Who was it? Rain Group, the Rain Group. They're American. They have ties to these people. There is clearly an agenda. There is absolutely an agenda there. And the Rain Group are looking to, help out their friends. I mean, that's how I see it. I think if you're competing between Saudi ownership and American ownership, and you've got an American middleman, which the Rain Group, they are American, then that's what you're looking at. Rich Moneymakers, the fallout with Todd and Eghbali is that Todd wanted more experience signed while Eghbali wanted more young players signed, but Eghbali is starting to listen by signing a few more. Well, you say that, but if he was listening and if Boehly felt like he was being listened to, I don't think this story comes out. I don't think that happens. So you're telling me that Eghbali's starting to listen, but the relationship's broken. It's gone. That tells me that Eghbali's not listening and Boehly's sick and tired of it. He's going, well, I'm not having any say here. I mean, Boehly only owns 13% of the club, right? But you have to remember as well, I mean, he runs that consortium with Hansi Vick, Mark Walter, all the rest of them. So even though they have small percentages individually, Boehly is actually the guy who is in charge of that consortium. He is the leader. He's the guy that got these people together to invest in Chelsea. They believed in his vision. Whereas Eghbali and Clearlake, they obviously own the same company. They both run Clearlake. So people go, oh, Boehly doesn't have enough equity. Really, it's 38% versus 62% equity. That is the scenario here. So don't get twisted when you think about who owns what and how much power they have. The majority shareholder is always going to have control. I'm fully aware of that. But 38% is still a decent chunk of the pie. And there is absolutely a much bigger story than even we will find out in this article. I mean, there's going to be lots of things coming out. But yeah, it's certainly upsetting. And I don't really like what I'm reading, but it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you can't deny that. We absolutely should demand clarity, and we are getting clarity. We're not getting it from the ownership themselves. I think clarity will happen once the situation is over. That's generally what happens, not while it's still ongoing. Yes, Michael, I will see you on Saturday, mate. Always a pleasure. And fuck, what is going on with these owners? What's going on? Right, let's get back into it. So, everyone's been given annuity and enabled to speak freely. So there's no specific sources. Let's get into it, guys. In the 2 years since Clearlake and Boehly's takeover, Chelsea have disrupted and dominated football's global transfer market, committing more than 1.2 billion in transfer fees and generating more than 500 million in sales. Players have been bought and sold at a speed and scale that has been as divisive as it has been dizzying. Boehly has been the name most often cited in headlines criticizing Chelsea's transfer policy and the face of online memes mocking the club for outspending their rivals while labouring in the middle of the Premier League table. However, he has not led recruitment at Stamford Bridge since January 2023, when he relinquished his interim sporting director title and signalled that he would step back from day-to-day responsibilities. That move coincided with the introduction of a new sporting leadership team at Chelsea, formally announced at the start of February last year, with Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart confirmed as co-sporting directors. The winter window of that 22-23 season also signalled a significant shift in the club's recruitment strategy to focus on younger talent prepared to accept lower base salaries as part of a longer, heavily incentivized contracts. Yeah, there you go. Eghbali speaking with Stewart, Winstanley watches the Wolves, blah, blah, blah. But while Boehly stepped back, Eghbali remained very active on the sporting side in that January window, flying to Turkey with Winstanley to pitch Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk on a deal to sign their winger Mikhailo Mudryk for an initial 70 million euros, with a further 30 million euros potentially due in performance-related add-ons. The two men also led negotiations that resulted in Chelsea paying a British record fee of 120 million euros to Benfica of Portugal for midfielder Enzo Fernandez on deadline day that same window. In the 18 months since, Winstanley and Stewart have continued to work closely with Eghbali, who is more engaged in day-to-day operations at Stamford Bridge and Cobham Training Complex than any other member of the ownership group, and as a representative of the private equity firm that owns 61.5% of the club shares, can be considered the most powerful figure at Chelsea. So again, just alluding to what I was saying before, even though Boehly has a big chunk of the pie and certainly has a say at Chelsea and should have a say, the final word is always with Eghbali. He is the man that makes the decision. So if Boehly says, I want to go left, Eghbali is well, you would hope he listens to that. But if he says, no, we're going right, Boehly can't do anything about it. So this underlines the whole rift, is that I think that people had an understanding that even though Boehly had less equity within Chelsea, he was going to be leading this this project forward. And his plan, his pitch, was what sold the Rain Group on the sale to Chelsea, and that's why he was considered to be the best man to lead this club forward after Abramovich, post Abramovich, which is obviously a very difficult thing to do. But it seems like even though his plan was the one that was pitched, it's not the one necessarily that's being put forward in terms of the way the club is actually being run. And that is where I have an issue, because, you know, that's just a complete change of direction if that is the case. And again, we don't know everything, but we know a little bit, and we just judge from what we know. And from what I know, it seems to me like Boehly was taking the club in a certain direction, and as soon as he gave up control on transfers in January 2023, Eghbali just took the reins off him. And I don't think Boehly really had a massive issue with that, because, as I said, he wants to be hands-off. But I think he always wanted to say, right? And as long as the direction was similar, there was never going to be an issue. But it's a completely different direction. He wanted one sporting director. Eghbali wanted two. He wanted a sporting director that was going to just do his own thing. Let the man get on with his job. Leave him to it. Eghbali wants two guys feeding up to him. He makes the final decision. He is literally micromanaging Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart. They do not have any space themselves. They are constantly being monitored by Eghbali. And Boehly just doesn't look at it that way. He thinks that, listen, These guys know football. Leave the football men to do the football job. Again, I don't really have a concrete opinion on this, so I'm just saying it how it looks. I might be wrong, and we might find out a little bit more as this article goes on. And I just want to say, rich moneymakers. So this is where you're wrong. So Boehly and Eghbali both agree on the policy of signing young players. They both agree on that policy and giving them long contracts, right? So that is not an issue. That's not where the issue is. The problem is that Boehly wanted to continue doing that and reinforce with some older players. So it's the opposite way round. So the project was always going to be young players entirely, and then just add the pieces you need for, well, obviously quality, ready-made quality, but also commercial value, as I was saying before. If we sign Victor Osimhen, imagine the commercial value for us. Think how the owners are thinking. What are they thinking? Who's going to score 20 goals a season? They don't give a fuck. They're thinking he's going to sell 20 million shirts. He's going to bring in money. If we spend 80, we'll probably make our money back within X amount of years on shirt sales. So that's where I think the owners are looking at it. But I just think that even with Boehly's ambitions, and nobody can doubt that money is a factor in this. We know that these guys want to make money, but the way they want to make money is different. One of them wants to make money by having a successful team and building it up, right? If Chelsea win more trophies, generally, what do you think happens? The club grows in value. It has more commercial value. There's more power. But Eghbali's stance is a little bit more reserved. So he doesn't care as much about winning now. As long as he has a good asset, and that's what he sees Chelsea as, it's an asset, and he can make it a sustainable business that can still grow in value, get into the Champions League, generate revenue, and obviously sell players for a massive profit, then he can prove that this is a business model that works and is profitable, and that's what I think he's looking to do, to sell. So that's just my opinion on it. Let's get back into the article. Right. So the dynamic of this is about the dynamic of Winstanley, Stewart, and Eghbali. So this dynamic speaks to what, in Boehly's view, is the major continuing tension with Clearlake, a cultural difference over how the co-owners operate. Boehly's approach, as evidenced by his work with Major League Baseball's Los Angeles Dodgers, is to hire specialists and allow them to get on with their jobs, while Clearlake, particularly Eghbali, has taken a role considered by Boehly to be micromanaging. A source close to Boehly's side described Eghbali as being obsessed with player trading. What the fuck does that mean? Player trading? Oh, God. I don't even know what that means. Player trading. He's talking about transfers? Presumably he's talking about transfers. God. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah, let's continue. Eghbali does love a transfer. Can't lie about that. He does love a transfer. One person familiar with Clearlake's thinking disputes this, insisting that Eghbali's level of engagement in Chelsea's recruitment serves only to support Winstanley and Stewart, not least regarding the numbers involved in transfers and contracts and the structuring of deals, whereas financial acumen complements their football expertise. Well, there's no doubt that we've got great businessmen managing the football club. There's no doubt about that. And I think that you have to almost complement the ability to navigate financially as we have, considering, you know, where we were and where we are in terms of sustainability. I mean, it's quite impressive. But, you know, we can't just talk about money here. We've got to talk about ambition and where are we actually going and where does it look like we're going. So, yeah, I mean, let me know what you think in the comments about that. In any case, all major decisions taken at Chelsea require sign-off from Boehly as well as from Eghbali and fellow Clearlake co-founder Jose E. Feliciano. And Boehly has never exercised his veto power over transfers. This lack of open resistance, according to figures close to him, is due to a desire to pick his battles. So basically what they're saying is that Boehly doesn't necessarily agree with everything that Eghbali's doing, but he believes that it comes across that if he fights on everything, think of it like this. Some of you are a little bit older. Some of you might have wives. I don't have a wife. I've got a girlfriend. Been with her for a couple of years. Right. Let's say she fights you over everything. After a while, you stop listening. Do you know what I mean? After a while, I blank out. But if there's a scenario where, you know what, I don't have many problems with my girlfriend, but she digs me out. This is wrong. We shouldn't do that. Blah, blah, blah. I will probably listen. Of course I will. Because she doesn't do it much. So I know actually I might be doing something wrong. And I guess that's a comparison that I give Eghbali and Boehly. It's yeah. It's not good though, is it? It's not good at all. I mean, why does Boehly have to look at it this way? I mean, they should be aligned in terms of the way they're looking to run the club. They should be aligned in terms of their vision. It doesn't look like that's the case. Well, just look at the transfers, for example. So this is something where Boehly is looking at it, doesn't agree, but he's not resisting anything because he wants to make sure that when he does confront Eghbali over whatever this is, it's he's actually going to have an impact, and transfers is a small part of a big puzzle in that sense. Alex says, managing the football club, are you serious? All that they are good at is selling all the club's assets to themselves and finding loopholes so they don't get the club into financial trouble. Stop the PR. I don't have any PR, my friend. I'm just saying how I see it. So, you can look at this however you want to look at it. I don't know what to think. So I haven't picked a side yet. From what I saw yesterday, if I had to pick between the two, I'm leaning towards Boehly, as I think most Chelsea fans are. But they are managing the football club because that's their job as owners. So, I mean, I don't really understand what you mean there. Yes, that might be all they're good at, but they have to manage the football club. So I don't really understand that argument, mate. I don't know. I haven't read the contract. I mean, maybe the loophole is that they have to buy and sell from each other. Maybe that is the loophole. Is that the only way Clear Lake can have, the only way that either of them can sell is if they sell to another member of the consortium. I don't know. Right. Okay, let's get back to it. Similarly, there were no Clear Lake checks on any of the transfer business conducted during Boehly's ill-fated tenure as interim sporting director in the summer of 2022. Chelsea have simply attempted to address many of the unsuccessful signings made in that window, swiftly selling on Kalidou Koulibaly and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and freezing out Raheem Sterling last month before loaning him to London rivals Arsenal on deadline day. Well, there's no doubt that we had a disastrous summer when Boehly was in charge. I mean, to be fair to him, we didn't even have a sporting director, so he had to do it himself. But it would have been nice to have some footballing expertise, I think, when we were dishing out these fat contracts. Right, yet plenty have questioned the wisdom of subsidising a large part of Sterling's wages as he lines up for a team likely to be one of Chelsea's direct competitors this season in the race for Champions League qualification. Well, I don't think it was a bad thing. I don't think Sterling had much to offer this season, if I'm totally honest with you. I think that Jadon Sancho is an upgrade on him. I think that João Felix is an upgrade on him. I think that Neto is an upgrade on him. I don't really think there was a place for him in the squad anyway. And maybe it was a coincidence, but no, Sterling was never going to fit into our plans long term, and even short term. What the fuck has he done? He's been rubbish, mate. So I mean, I'm just looking at that from a football perspective, and it's 100 grand off the books rather than having him not play for you and burning 350k a week. So yeah, still £250,000, but it's less than you would have spent having him around, potentially distracting other players within that team. You don't want any distractions, and if he's not part of the squad, then cut your losses as far as I'm concerned. That first window is remembered with regret rather than recrimination by Clearlake. Conducted as if it was in the chaotic first weeks after an accelerated takeover and driven partly at the direction of Thomas Tuchel, a head coach with whom all the owners quickly agreed they simply could not work. Now, that's interesting because as far as I was aware from what I read yesterday, Boehly wanted to back Tuchel, and Eghbali was the one who didn't like him because he didn't want to turn up to all these bloody meetings. So that contradicts what I read yesterday. That's interesting. Pochettino was a very different case. In the second half of May, as speculation surrounded the Argentinian's future at Chelsea, with an end-of-season review conducted by Winstanley and Stuart looming, Boehly made public pronouncements at the Sportico Conference and Qatar Economic Forum that appeared to advocate for keeping him on as head coach. But this is what I thought as well. I did think that we should have kept Pochettino, but obviously we got rid of him. This is a quote from Boehly. "The number one thing is that you have got to be patient," Boehly said at the latter event when asked about Chelsea's strategy. "You are putting something together and expecting it to come together really quickly, but the reality is anything really good takes a little bit of time. Patience was always a thought for us. This is a young and exciting team that will be together for a long time. If you look at a franchise that dominates for a long time, they have real stability in the team, front office, and coaching staff." Boehly then raised eyebrows at Stamford Bridge by inviting Pochettino to a private dinner on Friday evening before Chelsea's season ending with a 2-1 win at home against Bournemouth, a courtesy that the coach promptly disclosed to journalists in a final press conference of the campaign. So yeah, we all remember when that happened, and I think there was no real understanding as to why it happened, but yeah, it's yeah. I'm a bit salty about it still, I'll be honest. I'm gutted that Poch got sacked. But listen, I'm here to support Enzo Maresca. Whoever comes in, they deserve our support, that's for sure. Let's see what the comments are saying. Father says, "Bring me Arab owners." Yes, you are correct. Todd wants one sporting director, but Eghbali wants two. You are absolutely correct. Eghbali has a mid-club mentality. Hope you watched his 2022 video where he's clearly saying profit is what matters. Clearly aims to earn more and win less. I agree with you, my friend. I agree with you. I believe that Eghbali's priority and Feliciano's, they want to make money. I think it was Feliciano that actually spoke about it. I'm not sure if it was Eghbali. He said that, he basically criticized the way we run as a business and said, listen, winning's great, but it's more important if we can have a sustainable business that's profitable. No transparency, Alex. We are left as fans to make intuitive guesses about this mess behind the scenes. I haven't heard from the Chelsea supporters trust yet regarding all of this. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll hear very soon. This is certainly something that needs to be addressed. Boehly is working with Amanda Staveley and the Saudis. Now, this is very interesting. This would have been last year. So I sat with someone at Chelsea. I've known him not that long, but anyway, he's a friend of a friend at Chelsea, and he's a little bit older than I am, and he knows Amanda Staveley. And from what I heard from him, after they bought Newcastle and they realised Chelsea was for sale, they were absolutely gutted. And they would have bought Chelsea if they could have. So I think that was something that certainly shocked me. I think there's definitely interest from Amanda, and maybe that is one of the reasons that she is looking to sell her shares in Newcastle. And if that is the case, that's very, very interesting, because we know that Boehly and Eghbali have a very close relationship. We know that Boehly and the Saudis have a very good relationship, and maybe there's a bigger picture at play than we know. But I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Are we really preferring Boehly? Bro destroyed our club and is only coming back when we might be getting better. Well, I'm not saying I prefer Boehly. I mean, I haven't really made my decision, to be honest with you. But if I'm looking at it point blank, and you said pick Boehly or pick Eghbali for the next 10 years, I would probably pick Boehly. And I would point to his track record with the Dodgers. I actually like baseball. I actually follow the Dodgers. I don't watch the full games. I watch the highlights every day. I mean, in baseball, they play 162 games a season. They play a lot. And people criticize the fact that they've only won one World Series in 10 years. They also lost a final, and they will most likely win the World Series this year. They've invested heavily. They've got the most exciting player in baseball with Shohei Ohtani, and they've given him one of the biggest sports contracts in history. So don't tell me that there's no ambition to win there. There certainly is. It's just the way that they do it. And I think the way that Boehly does it is he wants commercial value. I think if he knows that players will bring money in, then he'll invest in those players. And he has proved in the baseball market that he is willing to invest more than anyone else, because he thinks he'll get more long term because of the success. Whereas Eghbali wants to invest less, make more, and doesn't care about the success. Right? We're going on track records here. This is not an opinion. And if you look at the Dodgers this season, they have the second best record in terms of wins in Major League Baseball. It's harder to win a World Series than it is to win the Premier League. There's 20 teams in the Premier League. There's 30 in Major League Baseball. So it's 50% more difficult in terms of numbers to win Major League Baseball. So if you're telling me that in 11 years, and I'm very certain that the Dodgers will actually win this season. They have the strongest lineup in terms of batting and pitching. I mean, yeah, let's not talk too much baseball, but they have a fucking good lineup. And that it will be a shock if they don't win. So you're telling me in 11 years, you get 2 World Series and you get to a final as well. That's not a bad record in baseball, mate. That's not a bad record. It's really not. It is really not. Every year someone else wins. It's not a sport where, you've got the same team winning every year. I mean, let me look this up. MLB World Series champions. Well, I'll spell that wrong. Right. Let's just look at the 2000. Oh, hang on, man. So they've been in more than one final. So the Dodgers have been in they've been in 3 finals. That's not even that bad. What are you talking about? That's a good record, mate. Fucking hell. Yeah. So Boehly took over around 2012. Yeah. And then in 2017, they lost the World Series final. In 2018, they lost again. And then in 2020, they won. And most likely in 2020, the 2024-25 season, they will win. So don't tell me that there's no success. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like, look at the list of teams over the past, I don't know, let's just go over the past 10 years. San Francisco Giants won it. Kansas City Royals, Chicago Cubs, Houston Astros, Boston Red Sox, Washington Nationals, Dodgers, Braves, Astros, Rangers. Every year, a different team wins the World Series. Every single year. And the Dodgers have reached 3 finals, won one of them, and they're probably going to win it again this season. And you tell me that there's no ambition and there's no success. I'm sorry. No, I'm not having that argument. Right? I'm not having that argument. They absolutely, yeah. The track record shows that there is success. Absolutely. I'm not having that argument. It's ridiculous. It's just a lazy thing to say. Oh, they only won one World Series. Like, it's harder to win in baseball than football. It's literally harder. Anyway, let's continue, man. So, Pochettino said, "Look, if I invite you alone and you are me and we have a dinner, it's not for a bad thing, no?" Pochettino asked. "I don't believe that." The following Tuesday, it was announced that Pochettino and Chelsea had mutually decided to part ways after 6 hours of discussions over 2 days at Cobham with Winstanley, Stewart and Eghbali, while Boehly dialed in from the United States. Winstanley and Stewart had flown out to see Boehly the week before his dinner with Pochettino to explain their thinking about making a coaching change. He responded in supportive terms at that meeting, though his subsequent words and actions were construed very differently. Why would they say to Pochettino, "We're considering making a coaching change"? That's just stupid. Can you imagine, right? You work in whatever industry you work in, sales, marketing, whatever, and your boss says to you, "Hey, listen, Brian, listen, Jack, whoever, I'm thinking of replacing you. What do you think about it? How do you feel? Do you expect me to perform better in my role because of that? Really? Come on, guys. This is fucking ridiculous." City Extra. How do I read the super chat? Oh, there you go. Well. Johnny was right all along, huh, Alex? Stamford Bridge is falling down. Stamford Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Brilliant. Good to see you again, C Extra. I think the last time I saw you was when we were playing against you in pre-season. So cheers for the donation. Well, I think that Johnny was right in terms of the fact that the owners care about money. I certainly agree with that. Whether they have no ambition to win whatsoever is where I dispute. And I think that he is certainly correct with Clearlake. I would categorize that as they only care about money. But would I say the same for Boehly and his consortium? No, I wouldn't. I think money is definitely a factor. You would say maybe even the number one factor. But the way you run a club, whether it is financially driven or not, you can still be successful, right? It's how you do it. And if Boehly's strategy is to invest in the best, which I think he wants to do, right? Bring in big names. I think that will generate more success for Chelsea. And I think the reason he wants to do that is financial. Yes, commercial value. We spoke about that. These players have enormous pull if you get the big ones in. But also, if you have a team that wins, the team grows in value. And also, the guy invested his own money. Clearlake didn't invest their own money. They're using investors' money. They are under pressure from other people to make money. If their investors are not happy with what they're doing, they can say, what the hell, what's going on? And Clearlake are under massive scrutiny for that. Whereas Boehly doesn't have any pressure from, from his stake of 13%. I mean, that's all on him. He has risked his own money, which is more respectable, right? At least the guy actually owns the 8%. Clearlake don't really own it in terms of Eghbali and Clearlake. They're in control of that fund, but it's not their personal bank account that they're dipping into. The gift that keeps on giving. You're not even wrong, mate. Johnny spot on about these clowns, whether you all want to admit it or not. I said it about these clowns before him. Well, I don't know if you said it, RC, but look, it is a clown show at the moment. There's no argument about that. I'm not arguing there. I would argue whether it's better to have, people are like, oh, get Eghbali out or get Boehly out, choose between the two. I would ask you the question, and I would say point blank, if you had to choose between Eghbali and Boehly, who would you choose? And people go, bring back Roman Abramovich. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Where I want Abramovich. I love Abramovich. But it's not going to happen. It's great speaking about these things, but I live in reality. Reality tells me that there is a chance that we've either got Clearlake or Boehly. So let's speak about that. If you want to speak about what should happen, but never will, then that's fine. You can live in that world, but that's not the world we're living in right now, unfortunately. I wish we could bring back Abramovich. Making money and winning aren't mutually exclusive. Man United, Liverpool. I think that they're examples. If you look at the Glazers, then I would argue they've won trophies and they've made money as well. So, but if you want to win at the top level, then you are right. Surely Clearlake will accept Boehly buying them out for 2.4 billion. It's a lot of profit for them. It is, mate, but we'll see. We will see. Brody, you're not going to find the guy who's best for Chelsea. Let's be honest. You're not going to find it. I don't know what reality we're living in here that we're going to get. The government don't want the Saudi owners or the Rain Group or whoever the hell is orchestrating. So if we do end up selling, then yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it's not good. I'm not saying it's good. I just think that let's live on reality, guys. Let's live in reality. I know what you're saying, Alex. However, why would Boehly get involved with Clearlake in the first place without having a coherent working relationship? It's an extraordinary display of incompetence. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But I believe that when they went into this project together, Boehly was always going to be the front runner. He was always going to be the guy running things. But when you look at what's in front of you and when you're actually in there, in that situation, it is it's totally different, How do I describe it? How do I explain it? I'm trying to give some right. You're in a club with your boys, right? Everyone's going, oh yeah, I'm going to speak to that girl, this and that. They're giving it the big one. And then they go over to the girl and it's completely different. They're probably scared of her half the time, a lot of these guys. Eghbali's looking at this situation. He's involved with Chelsea. You know what, Todd? You can run it, no problem. He actually invests in Chelsea. He's a part of Chelsea. He sees all the mess that happened over the first year. And he goes, you know what? Fuck that. I need to take control. And I think that's what's happened. I think that Boehly was the front runner for a reason because everyone believed in his vision. But they didn't believe... They didn't believe for long enough. And as soon as he stepped back, Eghbali went straight in the driver's seat and he's basically just binned off Boehly, whether it's in a polite fashion or not. I mean, we know who's included in the talks for sacking Pochettino, but he wasn't really given a say, because I think if his opinion was really valued, and he has managed sports teams for over 10 years now, then Poch probably would have stayed. But that just goes to show who's in charge. That's how it is. Right. Let's have a look. People familiar with Boehly's thinking say he wanted Chelsea to retain Pochettino, but he did not formally veto when the final decision was mutually reached. These sources add he considers Eghbali to be trigger happy, and the driver of the call to move on, an accusation that is strenuously denied on Clearlake's side. Well, this is obvious. Everyone knows Eghbali's savage. So I don't think there's any disputes there. A person familiar with Clearlake's thinking contends that it is Boehly who engaged in owner interference, attempting to put his thumb on the scale of Winstanley and Stewart's end-of-season review, with words and actions that displayed public backing for Pochettino, rather than allowing Chelsea's co-sporting directors to complete their process and arrive at their own decision. There is also belief on the Clearlake side that being overruled by Chelsea's sporting leadership on Pochettino was a tipping point for Boehly to begin exploring his options within the ownership structure, a move that has in recent days spilt out into the public discourse as media reports about a potential bid to gain full control of the club. People familiar with Boehly's stance deny this and insist the broader cultural clash with Clearlake is driving his thinking. Several more neutral sources briefed on the matter have echoed Boehly's views, suggesting the divide rests on the differing aims and objectives of the ownership groups. On one hand, Boehly's investment is personal money, and he views his sporting investments as long-term, lifetime plays. Clearlake, as a fund, is managing money on behalf of its investors, which we know. So again, you ask me, why do I pick between Boehly and Clearlake? It's literally right in front of you. Yeah. Boehly's investment is personal money, as he views his sporting investments as long-term plays, lifetime plays. Clearlake, as a fund, is managing money on behalf of investors. So if you ask me why, at this moment, I believe Boehly is better for Chelsea. This is why. How can you argue with that? Personal money, long-term, lifetime plays. Clearlake, as a fund, is managing money on behalf of investors. How can you argue with that? Big up, Alex. I hope Chelsea can win the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, something Poch couldn't do, and finish in the top 4 under Maresca, and hopefully he can win us the Conference League. Well, thanks for the positive message. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you, mate, to say that. But this is not a positive day. This is not a time to be happy and smile, unfortunately. There is shit's going down at Chelsea. It's going down. And yeah, it's not great, is it? It's not great. All right. You don't know what you're doing. I presume you're speaking about the owners. Yeah. They don't. They don't. There you go. They don't. But again, I reiterate. Personal money from Boehly. Clearlake is a fund managing money on behalf of investors. How can you disagree with that logic? It's staring you in the face. I'm not saying Boehly. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying he's better than Clearlake. This is what I'm reading. I'm reading it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell Athletic they're wrong. Simon Phillips, Simon Johnson, whoever it is. Oh, right. Thank you for the super chat, Brian. I appreciate it. Chelsea is done, mate. Come join us, elect champions. Jesus Christ. Oh, thanks for the super chat, mate. Spending over $1 billion and you have Sanchez in goal, average centre-backs, a central midfielder that gets walked through, and no top-class striker and no top-class spine, isn't ambitious, it's clueless, and we don't want to win. Well, obviously we want to win, but I don't think Clearlake's priority is to win. And I believe that Boehly prioritizes success more than they do. I think, yeah, that's where I stand on it. But you're right, mate. Fucking Sanchez in goal. Centre backs are crap. Well, I like Colwell. I don't mind Fofana. People saying he's world class, he's unbelievable. Stay fit for 6 months, man. Then talk to me. You know, that's where I stand on it. Yeah. Your fan base is a bunch of pussies. Nobody has the guts to get in there and start a protest against these people. Y'all truly don't love the club. Funny enough, I actually went to the protest and nobody turned up. So people organised that protest, but nobody turned up. So yes, you are right in that sense. You are absolutely right. There's a lot of pussies, man. There's a lot of pussies. But again, I think a lot of fans almost feel like, what can I do? What can I really do? What kind of an impact do I have for the owners to actually listen to me? And I think that they certainly listened after Brentford when we spoke about Boehly and you said, you know, fuck off Todd Boehly, all of that. But yeah, it's going to take a big message for these guys to listen. But now we're not speaking to Boehly. Remember that. Understand that. It is not fuck off Todd Boehly anymore. It's Clearlake Capital, Feliciano and Eghbali. These are the guys. I did analyze the previous 2 chapters, Guy. What do you mean I didn't analyze them? I've read the whole thing, mate. I'm still going. I'm taking breaks. I don't know if you joined a little bit later or not. Maybe I skipped out a little bit. But I just if I skip something out, it's because I didn't feel like addressing it for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know which part you're talking about. If you want me to speak about something, leave a comment and I'll talk about it. Again, it's not Boehly in for me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think Clearlake don't care at all, whereas he cares more than they do. Big up. We will be back. Thank you for the super chat. Is that you, Nippin? Nippin, sorry. Big up to deals. Alex, you know my thought on this topic. There was always going to be arguments, debates on transfers and vision of planning. They are a consortium. You're absolutely right, man. And this goes to show, this is a great lesson for anyone going into ownership of a football club, is if you're going to be a consortium, you have to have one consortium, not 2, because we have 2 separate fucking consortiums in one group. 2 separate consortiums in one ownership. This is not even one consortium. Boehly's consortium is 38%. Clearlake's is 62%. At least if they owned 100%, then we wouldn't have this problem. That would be something. They'd be united in terms of the direction we were going. We're not even united in that sense. Alex Boehly should have hired Tiki Begistrain as a director of football, who works as a director of football at Man City. He would have been a perfect appointment for the director of football job role. Mate, listen, we've made a lot of mistakes, man. We made a lot of mistakes. But we're here. We're here. I believe that Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart are actually very good at what they do. The problem is they are recruited for talent, not ready-made. And that is where you look at ambition and you say, well, I quite fancy some half decent players right now, not players that are going to be good in 5 years. I don't really care about a 15-year-old from Brazil. I'm getting paid from Eghbali. All right, mate. Unlike a lot of these other guys, in fact, everyone, I'm the only person that doesn't make money from YouTube because I obviously didn't start this channel. So figure that one out, how I got involved. So I haven't made any money. I'm actually down. My investment is down, guys. So yeah, people can't really talk to me about money. I invest everything, and I think it's just a lazy argument, to be honest with you. It's a very lazy argument. But yeah, you keep doing you, Michael. You wanted Omar Berrada at Chelsea before he went to Man United as a director. He would have been a great recruitment. He would have been a great choice. But again, it's he wouldn't fit what they're looking to do, man, because he would want to sign big players, which would cost big money. But he knows that they would improve the team. And he's not able to do that at Chelsea because that's not our policy, mate. Why can't you make your mind, though? Why can't you either say Boehly in or out? Why not be a fucking man and just say what needs to be said? My friend, whatever I... Also, I don't want Boehly or Eghbali, but I live in reality. We're stuck with them. What part of that don't people understand? It's not toxic positivity. This is the new trend. The new trend. If you're not negative, you're toxic. It used to be the opposite way around. I mean, I don't even know what's left and right now. Look, I believe that both of these guys, up to this point, have been poor. But what we can say is this season, based on our transfers that we have brought in, I would give the transfer window probably a 6 out of 10. Right? It was okay. It wasn't terrible, right? It wasn't a disgrace, but we should have signed Osimhen. We shouldn't have got rid of Petrovic and put Sanchez in goal. We shouldn't have signed all these bloody goalkeepers. We shouldn't have frozen out Trevor Chalobah. I don't understand why we publicly called out Ben Chilwell when we could have just sold him in private. And if it wasn't in private, he could have still been a part of the team in the dressing room. He's been completely frozen out. There's a lot of things I don't agree with. I don't agree with a lot of things, but just because I don't shout and scream and kick up a fuss doesn't mean I'm wrong. I mean, really, the idea is I want to hear what you have to say. That's what I want. I'm intrigued. Omar Barada and Siki and Joseph would have cooked at Chelsea. Would they have been perfect for us? Who knows, man? Who knows? Todd is the only guy that wants Chelsea to win trophies. The rest of them can kindly leave. And this is the thing. I'm not a big fan of Boehly. I'm not a massive fan, but I'm not Boehly out. To be honest, I'm not like. I don't feel that way about him because, well, first of all, he's not got any power now. So we've seen that when he was in charge, there was ambition. Whether it was crap or not, I mean, that's different. But there was definitely ambition, and there's just a lack of ambition from Clearlake. Right, let's continue, shall we? Let's get this article. Let's get this article going. This will inevitably lead to diverging interests at times, particularly since the club is entering its second successive season without the financial rewards of Champions League football. But this is again, like, this is what I like about Boehly. He wears Chelsea gear. What the fuck is Eghbali doing? I like the fact that Boehly represents us in that sense. Like, you can't argue with that. So if I had to pick between them, he's, you pick Boehly all day over Eghbali. The question is, why the parties did not see this tension coming when they came together to buy out Abramovich in 2022. The answer to that, according to people familiar with the co-owners, is that all parties were under time pressure, to bring together a consortium to buy a club put up for auction by the UK government following Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the sanctioning of Abramovich. While Clearlake and Boehly had done deals together, they had never operated a business together. A risk was taken and it has flatly backfired. The tensions between Boehly and Eghbali tested Pochettino's patience during his tumultuous single season as head coach at Stamford Bridge. And the way his departure played out exposed the fault lines among Chelsea's owners, which have now fractured. So, obviously Boehly and Clearlake had done deals together, but they'd never worked together. And this was a risk that they were both willing to take because time was of the essence when it came to this deal. There was a deadline. We know that Jim Radcliffe, tried to submit a bid for Chelsea as well. And that wasn't considered because it was past the deadline. So, it was about getting everything on time and just getting something together as quickly as possible. The one thing that Clearlake offered that was extremely exciting when they did take over, or when they were looking at options, is Clearlake have £70 billion worth of assets. They have a lot of cash, so these guys aren't going to struggle to pay people's wages, right? I live in Reading. Now, if you follow Championship or League One football in England, Reading are a club owned by a guy called Dai Yong, who's a Chinese owner, doesn't pay the staff, takes as much money out of the club, and it's just a disaster. So also they want to know that, whoever's running this club is financially stable, and Clearlake obviously are. So I understand why Boehly would have partnered them in that sense, because they have a lot of firepower financially. But also that gave them power in terms of making decisions for the club. Thank you, Deals. I appreciate that. Todd wanted to keep Chalobah. Where did you know that? Where did you find that one from, my friend? I'm not sure I heard about that one, mate. Who's the source? Who's your source, Rich Money Makers? What do you think the outcome of this bidding war will be? That's a very good question, mate. I think it depends on ultimately how much. I think it really depends on Boehly. I don't think it depends on Clearlake. I think it depends on Boehly. I think if Clearlake are looking at this as a 10-year plan, because they're allowed to sell after 10 years. They've got 8 more years, right? And they get Chelsea to a stage where they push it up in value and then they sell it for a nice profit. Boehly is looking at this as a 20 or 30-year project. And again, he's got his own money involved, not other people's money, right? He owns a share of Chelsea. He has a consortium, which includes Hansi Wiss, Mark Walter, but he has his own risks, which Clearlake don't, because they have other people's money. So I think what's going to happen is Boehly's going to offer Clearlake a very, very nice chunk for their stake in the club. And I think it's going to be rejected. I think there's also a chance there might be a follow-up offer, which will be even better. And you know what I think will happen then? I think it will still be rejected. I think that Clearlake believe that what they are doing is going to be, look at what Chelsea were worth. Oh God, I mean, this is worth asking actually. How much were Chelsea worth in 2010, for example? Well, let's just say no, 2012. 2012. That's 10 years before we got taken over. Is there actually an answer for this? How much are Chelsea worth in 2012? Well, let's just see Chelsea valuation. Well, let's look at it right now. I mean, Chelsea at this moment, this is according to another article that I read a while ago. I mean, Chelsea are now worth £500 million more than the 2.3 billion they paid for it in 2022. So you're telling me in 2 years, we have almost increased our value by 25%, close to that. What do Clearlake believe that is going to be in 8 more years? So in 2 years, you increased by 500 million. They think it's going to be worth quite a few billion quid then. So that's their valuation. So I can understand from Clearlake's side why they don't want to sell, even if Todd doubles what they invested. I think that they think they could get 5-6 times their money. That's probably what they think. And based on inflation and the way things work, I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me, man. The amount of money that's in football, it's crazy. Multi-club model as well. If we invest in other clubs apart from Strasbourg, that's part of Blueco. Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? But yeah. Yes. Yes, his Birkin bags. That's about it, mate. We don't see Feliciano much for a reason, because him and Eghbali both focus on money making, running us to the ground. When you reckon we will hear something going on with the situation, Alex? Todd Boehly wants a fast solution. Apparently he wants 2 months to solve this. So that's what I hear. 2 months is how long Boehly wants to resolve this situation. But to answer the question before, what do I think is going to happen? I think Boehly's going to offer to take over Clearlake. I think he's going to get rejected. I think he'll come with another offer, which will also be rejected. And then it's up to him whether he decides to sell or hold on and try and buy when Clearlake sell in 8 years. That's what I think is going to happen. From a rival's perspective, I love seeing your club's downfall, but as a football fan, man, I feel for you guys. The last thing I would say is that fight for your club and don't give up. Sorry if I was rude. That's all right. Thank you so much for the donation, mate. I appreciate it. I mean, listen, it's fun watching a downfall. It is, mate. It is, but it's sad because, do you know what it is? There's a downfall, and then there is the demolition of a club, a destruction of a club. And I think that if this goes the wrong way, we don't know how it's going to go. If this goes the wrong way, then this could be the beginning of a very sad situation for Chelsea. I hope that's not the case. Right, let's get back to it. By the way, if you haven't already seen, this is my FOCO gear. There is a link in the description. If you click the link for FOCO and put in the code cftvyt15, you get 15% off of everything. I had a call with FOCO a couple days ago, and yeah, they said that people were pretty happy, but they sold out of these bloody shirts. So click on the link, see if they've restocked. They've got some others as well. We are doing a giveaway on Twitter later. So if you want to enter the giveaway, I'll be tweeting later on. Right, okay, come on. Right. The tensions between Boehly and Eghbali tested Pochettino's patience during his tumultuous single season as head coach at Stamford Bridge, and the way his departure played out exposed the fault lines among Chelsea's owners, which have now fractured. On their arrival at Chelsea in 2022, Boehly and Eghbali signalled that they expect to communicate a stadium plan by the end of that calendar year. That self-imposed deadline was extended to the summer of 2023, then to sometime in 2024. More than 2 years into their ownership, the vital question of what to do with Stamford Bridge and potentially the tantalizing former Earls Court Expedition Centre. Sorry, I lost my place. Site less than a mile away still has no answer. So there's still no clarity on the situation with Chelsea and the stadium. For the first year of their ownership, the project was being led by two of Boehly's trusted associates, Jonathan Goldstein, a London property developer and fellow Chelsea board member, as well as a chief executive of investment firm, Kane International, was front and center with Janet Marie Smith, executive vice president of planning and development for the Dodgers, and listed as a prominent consultant. Goldstein personally handled the purchase of the 1.2-acre Sir Oswald Stoll mansion site adjacent to the stadium in July last year, as well as representing the club at several meetings with key stakeholders and supporter groups. But things changed in October with the appointment of Jason Gannon, former managing director of the state-of-the-art SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, as Chelsea's chief operating officer. Gannon, who was promoted to club president and chief operating officer in Chelsea's latest executive reshuffle this month, has been tasked with leading the stadium project ever since his arrival. Several architects, including Pompilus, the firm responsible for the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, have been consulted to inform the club's deliberations. Gannon's role is not a source of tension. Boehly and Eghbali consider him the right leader to formulate a stadium plan, backed by a new management team formed by the wake of Chief Executive Chris Jurisek's departure, but the lack of progress on the project is cited as a factor in the relationship breakdown between owners. Chelsea's time in stadium purgatory since Abramovich paused this ambitious redevelopment project indefinitely in 2018 and has cost them their 40,173-seater historic home is now only the 9th largest by capacity in the Premier League, placing a relatively low ceiling on matchday revenue, even with the unpopular decision to raise general admission season ticket prices for the first time in more than a decade for the 24-25 season. The club also did not have a front of shirt sponsor this season, further increasing the need to up prices. Right, let's just let's backtrack a little bit. Yes, so an aerial view of Stamford Bridge in 2000 showing Earls Court Expedition Centre. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. What I do know is that the Stoll building, which we ended up buying, which Jonathan Goldstein was in charge of purchasing, and obviously he's been the one involved in redeveloping Stamford Bridge or building a new stadium. So the strategy there is very clear. It's very simple. I spoke with a member of the Chelsea Supporters Trust about this, and the idea with the Sir Oswald Stoll Mansion site is very simple. They're either going to get rid of it and create more space for the stadium, as far as I'm aware, or they're just going to sell it on as real estate. So it kind of goes back to the hotel situation. You know, Blueco own the hotels. Obviously, we own the Stoll site as well. So if the stadium doesn't get built, very simply, we can just sell it on for a profit. In 10 years, that will be worth more than it is now. So that's the situation with that side. We're just looking at that as real estate. So there's very business savvy, but from a football perspective, again, not so good. Let's see. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think. It's a fair point, Stuart. 8 years. Eghbali is under pressure to get us back into the Champions League because look at what the Champions League are paying. Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head there. Michael, both should sell up and move on. We will see who the true Chelsea fans are. I was here way before them. We'll be here way after. Yeah, they are gone. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think a lot of people would have seen real Chelsea fans just based on the last 2 years. I mean, I went home and away during 2 of the worst years in modern history of Chelsea. And if you did as well, those of you in the chat, I'm sure some of you have, then respect to you because that was painful. Last season was nowhere near as bad as the season before. I spoke to people about this as well. I was like, Jesus, you think that was bad? Do you not remember when we went to City and we lost 4-0? We couldn't score against anyone. We kept getting battered. Everywhere we went, couldn't score a goal, kept conceding. No energy, no passion. I mean, it's certainly improved, but forget passion on the pitch right now. We're talking about the ownership. Newcastle got a top sporting director and his shit. What? Oh, mate. I hope you're wrong, man. Everyone should be ashamed of themselves. Chelsea, the love of the club, should be first, not your love for these clowns. What makes you think I don't love this club, Michael? Yeah, not really sure where that come from. Too many fans have been brainwashed by all the PR. Clown Lake has them celebrating our penny pinching wage structure. Well, nobody can deny that it's impressive how we've got it down and we've made some great signings. The problem is that we price ourselves out of signing really, really top players. And we did that with Osterman. And that's where my frustration is. Because I don't think you necessarily have to give in to 300k a week, but meet somewhere in the middle. We offered 150k. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. For a player of Victor Osimhen's level, what he's achieved in football, the highest paid player in Italy, look, he had to leave Napoli. He would have taken a pay cut, but he would not have taken, a 50% salary pay cut. Which one of you are doing that? Who's doing that? Come on, people. We've got to meet in the middle. I think 250 would have been good. It would have pushed our wage structure up, but at the same time, it would have shown some ambition and it would have shown that Osimhen really wanted to be at Chelsea because he took a pay cut. Cheers, Todd. Yeah, it would have been settled easily. I think it would have been settled on less than 300k. I think $250,000 would have done it, to be honest with you. Yeah. Well, Chilwell, we can't get rid of Chilwell because of his wages, and that's the problem. His wages are he's on 200 grand a week. It's very hard to shift players like that. That's what Man United have a problem with at the moment. You got players that just don't play for them on over 150k. I mean, it's hard to shift them on. Right, let's continue. Last year's tentative target for Chelsea to be playing in a new home by 2030 already looks optimistic, but there will come a time where either revamping or rebuilding Stamford Bridge are the only viable options. In March, the Earls Court Development Company unveiled detailed plans for the first phase of its proposed work on the Expedition Centre site, with the aim of construction getting underway in 2026. Taking the slow path forward on a stadium plan may matter less if Clearlake and Boehly are truly prepared to wait a long time to realise a return on their vast investment in Chelsea. The events of the last month cast serious doubt over whether they will pursue that together. Go deeper. Oh, there's another one. Oh, wow. Okay. That's just about Stamford Bridge. Oh, we'll leave that. Right. So that is the article from The Athletic. It's a good article. It's very informative as well. Let me know what you guys think about it. I mean, personally, I think it's quite sad, to be honest with you. But that's the situation we're in. We've got to address it. There is also some more news as well, guys. Chelsea are in talks to sell David Datra Fofana to AEK Athens. We've stepped up our talks with Athens over the sale of Fofana to try and agree something before the transfer window shuts in Greece on Wednesday. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what we're going to be looking to get for him. Obviously, we paid about £8.4 million for Fofana in January of 2023. So if we can make a profit on that, great, I guess. But again, it's penny pinching that nobody really cares. Alex, the report about the offer to Osimhen didn't mention 150k. They said they offered him a guaranteed wage of 3.3 mil plus 4 million incentives, which means they offered Victor 60k a week guaranteed wages. No, that's not true. It was 150 grand a week, and it would have gone up. There was no way they offered him 60k. The reason I know that is because there's a very close associate of Osimhen who said this publicly. Yeah, so that's how I know that he's yeah, it definitely wasn't 60k. I thought initially it was, but I found it's 150 grand, which is still embarrassing, guys. Let's not take the piss. It's embarrassing. A 50% pay cut is for a player at the pinnacle of his career, one of the best strikers in world football. You can't say it's anything less than embarrassing, to be quite frank. But you know, that's where we are. That's where we are as a club, and yeah, I mean that was Boehly, that was Eghbali, and that's the problem. Yeah, there's wage structure, and there's you're taking the piss, and that was ridiculous, absolutely crazy. I hope not. I don't think that will happen though, but I hope not. Yeah, loophole FC. I mean, this crazy guy. I can't believe it. I really can't believe what's going on. Oh. Right, let's see if there's any more news before I wrap up. Any more news, people? I'll just share this with you briefly. I mean, you might be right, but as far as I was aware, honestly, mate, I think it was 150 grand. Yeah, I'm 95% sure that it's 150k, with incentives on top of that. I think that we should have personally bumped that up by another 100 grand, because I think that shows Victor Osimhen that we care about bringing him in and we're willing to make him a top earner at the club, which obviously he wouldn't be on 150k. There'd still be players like Ben Chilwell and Fofana, Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo earning more than him. So I would understand why he would take that as disrespect. Right, let's see what this is. So this is what Pies is saying, what he can understand from reading the reports so far. So Boehly wants a CEO of football, then a sporting director. He wants them to make the decisions. He wants stability with coaches, and he thinks the plans for Stamford Bridge rebuild or new stadium should be faster. He does not think owners should be hands-on day-to-day, and he agrees with the data multi-club model and youth-led approach, but would make more exceptions for older and proven players. So that's the one thing he does agree on with Eghbali. He agrees with the data multi-club model and youth-led approach, but he doesn't agree with anything else. Eghbali and Clearlake refer to sporting directors. They want the directors to feed up to them, and they want to be involved in all the football decisions. Very ruthless when it comes to managers, and heavily data and youth-led. So I think that, yeah, that comes back to what we said before. I don't think there's any surprises there, guys. Coachella? Who's Coachella? Am I missing something here? I don't know who Coachella is, my boss. K-Cash. Alex, I just want to say you're doing a good job. I can see how much you try and grow this channel, knowing you're not making money in it. It shows your commitment. Keep going. No, I appreciate that. And look, just to be clear, at one point, I probably will make money out of this channel, but not for a long time. This is, I could have easily made a fair amount, and I chose to reinvest that money. That's why we have a studio for the watch-alongs, and that's why we still have presenters that haven't left, because, not everybody does things for free. So, yeah, I do enjoy doing it. But yeah, Alex Coachella is the guy on the Chelsea Perspective YouTube channel. I don't watch him, to be honest with you. I don't watch him. No idea who he is. So I can check him out, but I'm not actually sure who he is, to be honest with you, mate. Changing the wage structure for that greedy idiot would have been a disaster. I don't care how Chelsea fans. I don't know how Chelsea fans can want a wage structure then want to break it for someone who says he doesn't want to get loaned. Well, I mean, it seems a bit hypocritical now that he's been loaned to Napoli. Not Napoli, Galatasaray. Yeah, so in that sense, it seems a bit stupid, doesn't it? But oh, I mean, I don't know. I'm split. I think that it's a great point, Alfie. It's a great point. But people also make a great point when they say we should be ambitious. I agree with that. I think you meet somewhere in the middle. Okay, 150 grand's too low. 300k, it's a lot now. We don't want to make the same mistake we made with other players and we can't shift them on. 250 grand is a fucking mega salary. Come on. It makes you one of the top earners as well. If he's in the top earners, I think he can, you can justify that. I don't know, man. Right. So what's this guy? Chelsea Perspective. Is that what you said to me? How do I don't know. Oh, I do follow him. Okay. It's a good point. It's a very good point. The Boehly versus Clearlake saga is a complex power struggle, but many fail to see the full picture. It appears Boehly is expertly playing to the fans, aiming to turn public sentiment against Clearlake and force their hand in a buyout. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. Boehly, yeah, I mean, yeah, very interesting. Has he said anything else? Oh god, I can't watch this unfortunately because of copyright, guys. Yeah, so he's obviously made a video on it. That's fair. Like, it's a good tweet as well that he's done. It's a good tweet. I mean, yeah, man. This club, there's just things going on all the time. This is fucking let Clear Lake have Strasbourg. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How do you negotiate this? What are you buying? If you buy the shares in Chelsea, do you own the hotels? Do you own the training ground? Do you own Strasbourg? What happens to Blueco? What happens to the Stroll site? So many questions, man. I don't know. Honestly, Maxi, I would do it, but Johnny doesn't like speaking to anyone else. So I would happily speak to Johnny, and he could mud people or whatever it is that he does. I don't mind, but he's not interested. Yeah, that is the situation, guys. I remember times have changed. Times have changed. We actually spoke with Neymar's camp as well. We would actually speak with Neymar's camp. But yeah, now we're looking at God knows what's his name, 15-year-old from Brazil. That's who we're looking at now. Yeah. So I mean, listen, guys. How many likes is this on? I can't actually see. How many likes is the video? And if you haven't already liked, please can you just smash the thumbs up? It does actually help, believe it or not. We've got 70 likes. Come on, guys. Let's double that. Let's get up to 140 people. I've been on here for an hour and 47 minutes. Goodness. I love it. Honestly, I would love to stream more. The reason I'm able to stream at the moment, my day job, I don't do Chelsea Fan TV full time. I actually work. And I'm a tennis coach. That's my day job. But I've hurt my leg, so I can't work. So I'm stuck inside. So I'm going to be off work the whole week, maybe even next week. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I can start streaming more. Something I'll think about. If you guys like it, I'll do more of it. If you don't, I won't. So I hope you guys like it. But yeah, it's just something different. Try and keep this channel active. Yeah. Big up, Maxi. Spam the like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already become a member of Chelsea Fan TV as well, you can do that. There's different membership tiers. And again, if you want some FOCO gear, check them out. Use the code cftvyt for 15% off all FOCO merch. You might not even be a Chelsea fan. Yeah, I know, Maxi, you're a Man United fan by the looks of it. You can get Man United gear like this. And you can still use the code and you get 15% off. So it doesn't matter. But listen, big up to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And look, let's catch up very soon. I hope that this situation resolves itself. Hopefully this article gives you all some clarity as to what's going on at the moment. We're still going to find a lot things out. So, let's not make our decisions yet. Let's try and be reasonably balanced, and then when we know the full picture, we can make a more informed decision. But apart from that, guys, all the best to all of you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Monday, and I will speak with you very soon.